Hi friends, today we will reflect on a topic which is very close to my heart, the Ave Maria, the Hail Mary, the destroyer of Satan. I'm sure that all of you have probably heard 100 or thousands of times the story of the battle between David and Goliath. David representing the people of Israel, the people of God or the people of Israel, and Goliath representing the enemy, the Philistine, the pagan nations. The origin of this warfare can be traced back to the time of creation. In the story of creation, in the book of Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, God says, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. Now, tell me, who was the first person to hear this message of God regarding crushing of Satan? Of course, you've guessed it right. Yes, Satan himself, because God tells this to him. But Satan is not worried. He chuckles to himself and says, he was not worried. It was just like the Goliath in the Philistine camp, who thought he owned his height, and because he was a giant, he could crush any opposition. This was the domain of Satan. Earth was the domain of Satan because of Adam's original sin. And because of Adam's original sin, all of us would be under his captivity and bondage and be a slave to him. So he was not worried because all of us would be born slaves to Satan. But in Jeremiah 29 verse 11, Jeremiah tells of a plan of God's promise which says, for surely I know I have the plans for you, plans for your welfare and not for harm, to give you a future with hope. So, while God has a plan individually for each one of us and also as a whole for humanity, Satan also has a plan in place. And what is that plan? That plan is to destroy God's plan. In the Catechism of the Catholic Church, CCC 2851, it says, Satan throws himself across God's plan for salvation to destroy it. But when Angel Gabriel came with the Ave Maria 2000 years back, we read about in the Gospel of Luke chapter 1 verse 28, the plan of Satan, which was already in place to destroy God's people, was then defeated at the cross, as we see in Luke chapter 23:46. At this last breath, Jesus cries out, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. With this utterance, the plan of Satan to destroy the people of God was shattered, was crushed, and he was defeated on the cross, and we got victory by Christ's death on the cross. Therefore, in the battle with Goliath, David takes a sling and picking up 5 pebbles, puts it in his sling, and threw the sling or threw the stone in such a way that it went and struck him on his forehead. And it went into his forehead, and the giant crashed down to the ground. So every time we too also can take out our sling. And you know what is our sling? Yes, you've guessed it right, the Rosary. This is the weapon that is defeating Satan's plan to destroy our lives even today. In the story of David, and Goliath, the battle lines was fought face to face. The two armies would line up face to face, and then the battle would start. But today, St. Paul tells us in Ephesians 6 verses 12 that our struggle is not with flesh and blood, but with the principalities, with the powers, with the world rulers of this present darkness, and with the evil spirits in the heavens. So, therefore, James, in his letter, chapter 4, verses 7, tells us, submit yourselves to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. And Ephesians 6:11 tells us, put on the armor of God, so that you may be able to stand firm against all the tactics of the devil. So, therefore, we have the power of the Rosary in our hands, and let us use this powerful weapon to protect ourselves from Satan and to save the world. Do you ever wonder, have you ever wondered why when you start to pray, especially when you start to say the Rosary, that is the time all the distractions will come. That's the time you will start feeling sleepy. That is the time your eyes will droop, and automatically we fall asleep. The point to ponder is here, my friends, is that we have the weapons for the spiritual warfare that St. Paul talks about, but we let ourselves be overcome or be defeated by the wiles and the guiles of Satan. We succumb to his tactics, and maybe sometimes we do not pray properly, or we stop our prayers, or we do something else. So, however, let us take the Rosary, the sling, your sling, and just with one bead of the Rosary, one bead, just one bead, all the Goliaths in your lives will come tumbling down. When we say the Rosary, Mother Mary joins us with all the graces which we will subsequently talk about in the next part. Therefore, we see that the Rosary is the simplest and the most powerful weapon against the powers of darkness. Many saints and people of God have spoken about its beauty, its power, and its importance. I will give you some quotes from some very famous saints and people. For example, we have Saint Dominic. In his quote, the lady says that one day, through the Rosary and the scapular, I will save the world. Saint Louis de Montfort says the Rosary is the most powerful weapon to touch the heart of Jesus, our Redeemer, who so loves his mother. Saint Teresa of Kolkata has said that the Rosary is a powerful prayer for peace, for the family, and for the world. And one of our most quoted sayings are, a family that prays together stays together. St. Pius X says, the Rosary is a most excellent form of prayer, a most powerful means of obtaining graces from God. St. John Paul II was a devotee of the Rosary, says the Rosary is my favorite prayer. It is a marvelous prayer, a most excellent prayer. And St. Alphonsus de Liguori, the founder of the Redemptorists, says that the Rosary is the most efficacious prayer, for it is a prayer of the Blessed Virgin, and it is a prayer that is most pleasing to God. The saints loved the Rosary for many reasons. One was because it allowed them to meditate on the life of Christ. The Rosary helps us to meditate in the life, death, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The second is a devotion to Mary. Rosary is a prayer that honors the Blessed Mother, Virgin Mother, the Mother of God. It is also a powerful intercession. The saints believed that the Rosary had the power, or has the power, to obtain graces from God. And lastly, the Rosary is simple and profound. The Rosary is a simple prayer that can be said by anyone, yet it contains profound mysteries and truths. These quotes and uh, reasons demonstrate why the Rosary has been such a beloved prayer, and why there is so much devotion among all saints and people of the world, and why it remains a powerful prayer for Catholics all around the world. We will take up the next part regarding the history and the origin in the next video.